Okay, so I'm going to show you how to put some birds on a spit. The trouble with a chicken or a duck is when you've cleaned all of the insides out of it, it's like a telescope, you know? You've got a hollow and you put something like that in it, you put it on the spit goes round and the chicken stays still, you know? So you have to fit it in a way that works. And we are going to look at, I think all of you need to come over here so you can see this 18th century wind-up computer, okay, with clockwork, okay. This is really important. You need to see this evidence, but if everyone can come over here, otherwise you won't understand the lesson. We know from paintings, some books where they show you how to do it, that this was a skill that had to be taught. And often there is some evidence. One of the best bits of evidence we have is this extraordinary thing. It is a tureen, it's for putting food in and putting it on the table. But it's in the form of a chicken, a hen, that has been roasted. Because if you look at it, can you see there's a hole there, very cleverly put in by the potter, which is where a little skewer would have gone in. And the technique was that there were various ways. Can you see also here? This is one of the wings of the bird, and it's also got a hole where a skewer would have been pushed through. Okay? Now, this is interesting because this was made for serving a ragu or something, or a fricassee of maybe chicken. And this is the lid of the tureen. But it shows you how they roasted birds. If it was a water bird, a duck, or a wild goose or a swan, you cut the legs off and you cut the head off. Water birds tend to eat food underwater and they get mud and other debris in their throats, so it's quite unpleasant, so they would cut the heads off. And they did the same with their feet because they're walking around in the mud all the time, you know, and they get very dirty. But if you're a land bird, like a chicken, you know, and a pheasant, partridge, quail or whatever, you cook the legs, you cook them because the Chinese like eating chicken legs. Has anyone ever had them at all in Chinese, you know, restaurants? But what's interesting is they're very rich in this material called collagen, which is a protein that kind of, when it gets hot, turns into a liquid. When it gets cold, it sets into a jelly. So when you cook a chicken, you leave it in the fridge, you get jelly. That's the collagen. And it comes particularly from things like the legs, which are very rich in it. Collagen is a glue, and the glue holds us all together. A human, we're made of collagen. And if you cook us in a pot, all our collagen turns into little strands. When it cools down, it turns into coils, and it sets. It enriches broths, it makes them thicker and more succulent on the mouth. They realized that there was a lot of food in these things like the beak, the head, the legs. So it gave flavor and body to the bouillon, the gravy that was produced from the bird. So now we chop them off or we throw them away, but they actually understood that they were useful from a culinary point of view. But you see, this guy is hollow. He's just, as I say, you can see through him. He's got a big hole. You put something like this through and it's got nothing to grip. So, this is one that's very common to any diner in the 18th century. Would have seen this and understood. And it was a nice joke on the table to see a roast bird as it would have come off the spits. Wrong one, there. Now this is remarkable. This is a drawing I saw in Vienna about 6 months ago. Can you see that is the bird's head there with his eye? Whoops, what have I done? they have actually cut a hole in its throat and put the leg through. It's coming out of the beak. The reason for that is they use the legs and the wings. They would tie these onto the spit. You often tied the legs on, and that held the head in so it didn't drop off and hang down in front of the fire. So the next one. There's the spit. There are the legs. Can you see this time they have tied the legs to the spit. The head, there's the head. Okay, that's the neck, it's been pulled down under this wing and pulled across, and the beak is round the leg. Okay, it pulls the whole thing together on the spit, and it means that the head isn't going to hang off like this as it goes around and flop around like this. Can you see that? Look, that leg, the beak is holding it there to one side. Can you see here? This is a wing, but underneath it is the bird's liver. It's very common to cook the liver when you roast it underneath the wing. So you have your legs, there you put it under here, and that holds it so the liver cooks as it's going around on the spit. And I'm not making this up, this is true, and the evidence is very clear from paintings like these pictures. This is a very good one, and in the last one I showed you, you can see this extraordinary technique which happened here. This is a drawing by an artist in the Habsburg kind of kingdom, and it shows that this was the kind of thing that was done in this part of the world. And also, these techniques are published in books. This is an English book, but you see them in German and even in French books too. And it's different for each bird. I told you that ducks and geese, because they were in the water, they always had their heads chopped off. They had their legs chopped off, because they were considered to be unclean. But this bird it's a chicken, and you can see they're using skewers, which go through the wings and go through the legs, and the head is pulled over. And look, this breast chicken. Actually, could you put that one underneath the spit for me and give me this one here? Okay, so if we turn that round like that, can you see what we've got here? This is actually an 18th century instruction book on how to put birds on a spit. So the legs look, there they are. They look pretty good, don't they? Just like that. This has to come over like this. And like that. Can you see? About there. Okay? We've got a shape that's very close to what is happening there. This could probably come in a bit closer like that. So what you did was, I'm not going to try the one where I actually put the head through the neck of it. It's very difficult to do that. But this is quite gruesome. It's actually quite gruesome because we need to use a fairly thin one of these ones here. The first thing they did was, so if you are squeamish and you don't watch horror movies, I would turn away from this, okay? They normally put the skewer through the eye, okay? So that's got to go into there and out the other side, okay? As I said, it's like a horror movie, right? You then have to put it through the leg. Now, if you feel the leg, you can feel the bones in the leg. And the big one that's in here, we have to put that underneath it, okay? So we're going to go like that. Then we have to be very careful because we've got to match the leg on the other side. So we basically are aiming for about there. So I'm going to push it through. It comes through here. That's it. And into the leg about there. And again underneath the bone, like that. Okay. Now, can you see what we've got? We've got something like that there. And often we will need some twine as well. We need some string to do this. So you'll notice that there are two skewers. This is the one I've done there. Oh, I pressed the wrong one.
No, that's okay.
Go, yeah, you've got to go to, go back all the way through them to, whoop, back on to there. Okay. Right. Okay, that's pretty good. Now we need two skewers. Good. I'm just going to pull the head out a bit like that. Get that leg up. That's what I didn't do right. Then push it in. Okay. The other skewer goes through the wing, so we can find the gap between the bone like that. Again, it goes through the body of the hen, like so. And then again, we're going to get it, there's two bones in there, we have to get it in between the two of them, like that. Okay, so there is more or less what we've got on there, roughly, okay? You've got two skewers. The other thing is that by pulling this across, you pull this quite tight here, because you need some flesh to put the thing. Now the trouble is with this, if we loosen this, how many other little birds have we got?
We have only green and the wild. We have wild pigeons.
Right. I think I'd be happy just doing this one by itself on this spit. Do we have another spit for this?
We have one more.
One more with this fitting.
Yes.
Right, we'll do the small birds on the other one.
Yes, we can.
Okay, and we'll do
Or
this
should
by.
we make small birds on the hand one because they will be done quickly?
Well, we can do. So I'd rather this was by itself.
Yeah, that would be look wonderful.
Right, so you must help me here. So basically, what we're going to try to do is I'm putting it over that one, okay? But I want to get it over the other one too. Okay, no, sorry, under it there. So this one is going to go
Shall
under.
I hold it?
Yeah, that one is over, that's right, okay? And we've got to get it through there, okay?
It's coming.
Right. Okay, now I need it to be in the middle. Watch out for your computer, I don't want to push it off the table.
That would not be nice.
Okay, now, we need to roughly get the center. Could you push it that way a bit? About, let's just see if it's in the middle. That's the center. A bit more this way. Okay. Let's see. That's about right, okay. Okay. Now, of course, what I told you about the hollow, if we don't fix this properly, this will go around and it stays still. So this tool here, which is called a hold cast, became an essential issue in all kitchens, really, where you're roasting, because it stabilizes the bird, but you've got to make sure that both points actually go into the flesh. They've got to grip the flesh somehow or other. Like that. And we've got another one, haven't we? Okay. And then we can do the same like that. Okay.
Great.
Now, these are going to,
Hello.
when we sing the spit song and we go, it's like an Irish dance, river dance, you know what I mean by that? We've got to be careful. We need to use some string, okay? So my master is going to do the string. If you tie some around the skewer there on that side.
Irena will help me, right? We have a better hand than... Když necháme očko a chytíme to za očko.
There are many ways of doing this. There are lots of different, and each country has a different technique.
No, musíme to chytit, samozřejmě takhle.
So loop it onto there. That's it, yeah?
Irena, I will pass it to Irena here and
Yeah,
much better than
she's
mine.
good.
And the chicken was for sure she. Or
And I can go and have a glass of Chianti over here.
here you have your Chianti.
Right,
It's ready?
You don't like Chianti?
Yes.
Okay, you should have white wine really.
We do have white wine, but we said we don't serve wine to participants.
Does this make sense? Okay. That's it. You'll notice, excuse me, Rena, you'll notice that you have a hole there. This is for tying the twine to. Pull it really, really tight, really tight. Okay. I would tend, rather than using the hole, tie it under that bit actually. You take it so it can pull more tightly onto it. And then go round and then go back onto here. And that's it, okay? So that one is ready. The smaller ones are more difficult.
It's like the fork that makes sure that it can actually rotate.
Yeah.
And these ones make sure that you can actually tie it.
Yeah,
to the
because what-
ends.
what-
That's the way how to tie it, otherwise
Yeah.
it will still rotate.
What we did with the spit is two skewers, okay? Spit goes over one and under the other. And that, when it goes around, that helps to keep it steady. Yeah, we don't want too much string on it, but that will secure it. So there's a whole series of skills that were lost when people stopped to cook meat like this. And this is a method of cooking meat that was practiced everywhere in Europe, everywhere. And now so few people do it, they think you put it on top of the fire, not in front of it. Roasting was about radiant heat, just radiation, extremely hot radiation coming from the fire, with the meat not over the fire, which is broiling or barbecuing, but in front of it. And those of you who work here and you stand in front of the fire and it gets incredibly hot, you know that radiation is a fantastic cooking power. So I think we're there. That's great. So now you see, we'll test it to see whether, see, it stays on. So,
We didn't stuff it, which doesn't matter, right?
no.
My jsme to nenacpali něčím, ale to nevadí.
Okay.
So now we put it on the spit and we brush it with the
Brush it with some
butter with salt or pepper probably.
Yeah.
Je to posolený, solil asi nakonec.
Yeah. One very
Jo, je posolný.
One very important kitchen still, this is a very dangerous procedure, Yesterday I talked to people about these kitchens and how actually they're very safe to use, because the fire is high up and you're unlikely to set light to your fire. English kitchens are terrible, they're really bad designed. But always, if you carry a spit, always point it to the ground. Because the other big accident in kitchens was someone rushing through a door and suddenly finding, that they'd been impaled on this, really, Okay, so I'll leave
We put it on the spit.
on the spit.
Richarde,